Good, how are you?
I think I used to know you.
Good afternoon, everyone. It looks like we're live. Is that right, Katie?
Yep, we're live. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our special guest, the ghost of City Council past, Bill Sullivan. So, Bill, would you like everyone to go around and do an introduction before you get started? Would that be helpful for you, or are you happy to see names on Zoom?
I think I know everyone, but it might be good for just a quick go around. I believe I know everyone, but I'm not sure I can see everybody.
All right, let's go real quick and just make sure everyone can identify themselves to Bill. Bill, Mitch Gruber, City Council at Large.
Yep.
Jose? For some reason, I can't hear you, Jose. I don't know if but you're not muted.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yep.
although faintly.
I don't know what happened there. Jose PO, City Council, Northwest District. Thank you.
Hi.
Great. Miguel?
Good afternoon, Miguel Melendez, City Council Member at Large.
Lachey?
Hello, this is Lachey Harris, City Council, South District. Hi, Bill.
Malik?
How are you?
Hey, Bill, Malik Evans, council member at large.
Thank you.
Katie?
Hi, I'm Katie Hasselander, Acting Chief of Staff.
Beth?
I'm Beth Sieber, and Bill, I have the joy of using the desk that you used for so many years.
Aha.
I am legislative aide for Mitch and also in this interim helping Katie out with some of the council duties.
Good.
Bridget?
Hi, I'm Bridget Birchwhite, and I'm the Deputy City Clerk now.
Caroline?
Good afternoon, Caroline Thomas, Legislative Aide to President Loretta Scott, just sitting in for her.
Josanne?
Hi, Bill. We go way back. Excuse my voice. I'm nursing a cold. Liaison to the City Council for the mayor.
And Donna, are you with Bill?
She is interpreting for us today.
Oh, got you. Good afternoon, Donna. And so, Bill, that's everyone. And we will let you take it away.
Okay. Thank you. And let me thank you again for the opportunity to pursue the redistricting of the city council districts. This will, if we get these done, this will be 50 years worth of redistricting I will have been involved in. For those of you that don't know me, some of you I know I worked with. Some of you that don't know me, I was the chief of staff of city council from 1986 when the strong mayor system began until my retirement in 2010. Most of the systems that were set up for the relationships between the council and the administration, for good or for ill, have my fingerprints on them. So any of them you don't like, it's probably my fault. The good ones, they're Bob Meyer's responsibility. As you know, the United States Census is conducted every 10 years pursuant to the requirement of the US Constitution. And those findings are to be used to regularize or normalize the differences between and among legislative districts, whether it's the US Congress, individual states, counties, or cities. We have, beginning with my involvement in 1980, we've had a series of understandings about how we approach redistricting. The first of which is that the districts have been in place now largely for, well, probably for about 80 years. The districts have been in pretty much their current form with minor tweaks around the borders. And the understanding is we begin with the understanding that we're not looking to radically reshape the districts. And if there's any thought that you want them radically reshaped, you better tell me now, because the premise I'm working on is that we will attempt to regularize the discrepancies in the population that resulted over the last 10 years by the minimal changes required to accomplish that. To do this, I get a boatload of information from the Board of Elections, which gets it from the Census Bureau, and they report it to me by election district. You're all familiar, you're all political activists, you're familiar with election districts. The election district is the basic building block of the city council districts. We work up from the election district level. For each of those districts, we have information on race, ethnicity, and gender, as well as political party affiliation. And we are able then to put together whatever changes need to be made to the districts to equalize them, and to ensure that we are not violating the Voting Rights Act or any of the other myriad pieces of legislation to control how districts are drawn. Usually the way I begin this, I begin with a meeting with each of the 4 district council members to get a clear understanding of the state of their district currently, and what they see as the most important areas of their district to remain untouched, if any. Once we've had those meetings and gotten a sense of what the district council members' preferences are, we then start to sort the data into the various different pots that we use, looking to make sure, as I said, we don't disadvantage any racial, ethnic, or other protected group in so drawing these districts. We put together a report then with the proposed boundaries, a report that shows the makeup of each of the districts, the change from, in this case, from 2010 to 2020, and provide that to the city with in an electronic format. Typically, that then goes to the law department, which draws what they call the meets and bounds, the literal physical description of, thence 200 yards on West Main Street to the intersection of Jefferson Avenue and thence north, and so on and so forth. That is done by the law department, and then is included in the legislation you approve. Includes the amendment to the charter to describe the new districts accurately. That's a brief summary of the process. It's tedious. It's not hard. It's just tedious and time consuming. And my expertise in it really is that I've done it 4 previous times. I'm the only person alive who's ever done it. And I do know the city neighborhoods intimately and know where boundaries are and know what problems to avoid. We follow to the greatest extent possible, we follow natural boundaries such as the river, major expressways, things like that. And we follow the neighborhood boundaries insofar as possible. The one thing we have been asked over the years by the Board of Elections is not to change any election districts. There's an election district, for example, that crosses South Goodman Street in the general vicinity of Colgate, Rochester. I don't remember exactly where it is, but most of the districts tend to run north-south in this direction. There's one that crosses Goodman. And if you look at the map, it results in a jog that people say, oh, you're gerrymandering the district. No, we're not gerrymandering anything. We're following the lines of an election district. And the Board of Elections has asked us every year, please do not screw around with election districts. Don't cut them in half. Don't rejigger them, because it causes them enormous problems. And so we've always respected that. I would assume that this will not take an enormous amount of time. The professional services agreement indicates it will be done no later than December 31st. I would hope it to be done sooner than that, significantly sooner than that. But since one never knows the future, one, for example, could not have anticipated we would be dealing with a pandemic and meeting by Zoom meetings a year and a half ago. So I left the agreement does give us until December 31st to finish. It is not time sensitive, as you know, because it is not until 2023 that the at-large or that the district members are running for re-election. So it has no impact on the 2021 elections, and there are no elections in 2022 involving council members. that is my brief summary of what we're doing and what we propose. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I think folks should just jump in as they want for questions.
I have one question.
Sure.
Thank you, Bill, for outlining the process. I've been having conversations around this, and particularly looking at the Senate districts in the state, and noticed that the 19th ward is always cut out and aligned with Buffalo. Is that something that will be looked at this time around? And
We can't do that. That will be looked at by the state.
that'll be looked at by the state.
As
Okay.
a 19th warder, I can tell you it is enormously frustrating when they did that, that was an attempt by this, a successful attempt by the state Senate to protect a Republican senator from Buffalo by grabbing all the Republican districts between Buffalo and Rochester and just grabbing a little bit of just a few Democrats in Rochester to pack into that district. But it was a pretty blatant piece of I shouldn't use the word, but it was pretty blatant. And gerrymandering is a reality, as you know. The state does it with regularity, and to the best of my knowledge, in the city of Rochester, we've never indulged in it. So,
Hey, I just wanted to say, because I just wanted to say I'm glad that Miguel kind of asked that one question, because I know there's people watching on YouTube. I think it's important to point out for people who may not be familiar with redistricting that, the congressional districts are done. There's congressional, state, Senate, assembly districts are done at the state level. The county legislative districts are done at the county level, and they have a committee. And the only thing that we as city council do, for those who may not know, have not been through this process before, are the 4 district council seats. So that's our only purview and authority as a city council. It's other levels of government that will do some of the other ones. I got that right, Bill?
that is absolutely correct, Malik. It's the city has the authority to do the city's district, period. And often over the years, over the decades, the districts that have been drawn by other levels of government have been ludicrous. You remember the dumbbell district that Louise had, which had a chunk of Rochester and then went up along the shoreline of Lake Ontario, and then a chunk of Niagara Falls and Buffalo. So it looked like a barbell. It had no rationale other than it protected a Republican district to the south.
I'm glad you guys asked that question, because Miguel asked a question that I was going to ask. And as I mentioned, as was mentioned before, the 19th ward was cut out. And I think this happened in 2010.
Yes, that's
and
correct.
I was very vocal about that at the time. I was the president of the 19th Ward Community Association. And so I'll be keeping my eyes on that and submitting my comments to the Senate about those, about our district.
I think that's very wise, because now that the Republicans are no longer controlling the Senate, there may be more rational attempts to draw it.
Bill, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, just kind of procedural. I've always wondered why we have districts. We always talk about the city of Rochester in quadrants, but for whatever reason, we have districts that are northwest, northeast, and then south and east. And why they're not just called southwest and southeast. Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's because the east side of the city is substantially larger than the west side, using the river as a boundary.
Geographically, you're saying?
No, but both geographically and by population.
Gotcha.
Significantly more people live on the east side than live on the west side, and significantly more land area on the east side than the west. So there needs to be at least one place where the boundary crosses the river. And historically, for as long as I'm aware of, and probably going back to the 19th century, that boundary crossing took place in the south half of the city.
I guess I would ask my the the district council members, and maybe that's not a conversation for here, but I'd ask Councilmember Loopy and Councilmember Harris if that ever comes up as a point of confusion for constituents, because even though we have to cross the river, I suppose I would guess it's still ultimately our decision if we want to label those southeast and southwest, even if it crosses the river, right? Like that, the title of it is our decision ultimately, correct?
That is correct. You're amending the charter. You could, while you're amending the charter with the descriptions, you could also amend the name.
And I would just wonder, Lachey and Mary, if you all ever feel like it's a point of confusion for constituents who are so used to, we send people to the southwest or the southeast service center. We don't send them to the east or the south one. So I'm wondering if that's ever a point of confusion.
Well,
I
think
find that
there's,
go ahead.
I was going to say there's many points of confusion. One, that the service center districts don't perfectly line up with our council districts. And my district, and I think Councilmember Harris would agree, my district saying southeast doesn't accurately describe it because I have a portion that's in the northeast of the city, what we would think of as the northeast. And Councilmember Harris, in the same, you have a portion that would be considered on the east side of the city, but it's in the south district. So I think it's just confusing all around.
Yeah, and it has, as I said, it's a reflection of the physical makeup of the city, that the river does not bisect the city evenly. The west side is much narrower than the east side.
I'd like to ask, does that, like, after they reviewed the population compared to the last time this is done, is the population still more on the east side versus the west side?
Well, we haven't gotten the numbers yet, Lachey, but I see no reason to think that it's going to change dramatically. We know the total population changed by, 654 people, which, by the way, is good news because it is the first time since 1930 that the population has gone up. But it's still, I have no reason to believe that the trends are any different than they have been. And the trends have been that the population has been shrinking in the northeast, growing in the southeast, shrinking in the northwest, growing in the southwest. Those are the general trends over the past 40 years. And I see no reason to think that's going to, I could be surprised, but I see no reason to think it'll be dramatically different than that when the numbers come out next week.
Well, I guess to me, that would be the one point that I would love to, anything that we can do now, since this is a once in a decade opportunity to bring things more in alignment, including with the service centers, including with the way that we actually label things. I just think having an east and a south label, that's just one thing and nothing else that we do as a municipal government is awfully confusing. And I guess I would just hope that we as a council have opportunities to talk about this maybe once your analysis comes in, Bill, and we can talk about things like nomenclature and language. I'd also just ask, even that piece, and it's too bad that Mike's not on the call, but even that piece that Councilmember Lupien was referring to, I mean, I've always wondered also, is the only reason why there's a part of the East District that juts into the Northeast because of demographics?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
when did it become, it's kind of like a carve out of sort of Beechwood, right?
But most of Beechwood is in the East District and has been for decades.
It has been.
Yes, because that's, again, it's not the Southeast, it's the East. And it has gone.
It's the East, but the Northeast is also the East.
Right, that's correct. So as I said, the labeling split is because of the disparity in size between the east and west side of the city. The East District has gone up as far north as all of Browncroft was in the East District. So it's gone up as far as Browncroft Boulevard anyway, Atlantic Avenue. That was back in the 1970s. That was all in the East District. And the Northwest District came down for a while into parts of what are the northwest corner of the 19th Ward. Census Tract 8701, I think it is, over there near the industrialized area on the west side of the city between West Avenue and the Expressway. That area was in the Northwest District once, and yet it's, from an operational point of view, it's thought of as the South. if I may suggest, the easier way to solve it is not by changing the council district's names, but by changing the names of the service area districts. Those are under the control of the city administration and can be changed at will. They could be called eeny, meeny, miny, and mo.
Sure, but I would just say it's like intellectually speaking, you talk about the east side, but what separates the northeast and the east is north. And so to not have south is, I think, confusing, because then you say something is in the East District, and for a constituent who may not, know all the ins and outs of this stuff, you say East District, they may think Northeast. So I really do believe that if we're going to have a Northeast, having a Southeast makes a lot of sense, and vice versa on the West. But of course, I would certainly defer to the district council people who deal with this daily.
Would it be fair to think that we, based on the data that comes out, that there may be a population shift that, may dictate how we move forward with that?
It's possible, Lachey, but I think highly unlikely. My guess is you're going to have to move 500 people from the East District into the Northeast District, and a couple hundred people from the Northwest District into the South District. That's my guess as to how it'll turn out, which is why typically the changes have taken place sometimes in the downtown area. Last time, as I recall, we moved 1 or 2 election districts in the east side of downtown from the East District to the Northeast District. We might have moved 1 on the west side of downtown from the Northwest District to the South District. But again, you guys can name them anything you want. I'm going to give you the descriptions of 4 districts. And as I said, how they're named is up to your wisdom, not mine. I'm a technocrat on this one.
I have 2 questions.
Yes,
is because we go by election districts, on the northern border and on the border between Lachey and I, there's some weird cutouts.
Yep.
And is that why? Because they're election districts, or was it population?
No, mostly it's election districts. I mean, I just said the one that always stuck in my craw was the one coming down South Goodman Street.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a jog there just right around, I don't remember which streets it is, but it's right around Colgate, Rochester. And it happens to be an election district that runs, it's shaped this way. It's shaped like a horizontal rectangle as opposed to a vertical rectangle. Right. And it crosses the street. There are districts like that. When I show you the maps, I will show you the individual districts involved, so you can see, where those points are. But the Board of Elections has always said it would cause them enormous difficulty if we started rejiggering them.
My other question is, I'm sure other council members have gotten this too, some constituents wanting to weigh in, and will there be a public process for them to? Yep. Yeah,
no, I will get my work done and turn it to you for the public. You will hold the public. Okay. I'll be happy to do presentations at any public meeting.
Great.
But the first cut at this is sitting at a computer and grinding, which is not amenable to a public process.
No.
The public would run from the room screaming. But once we have the drafts done, there has traditionally been a public hearing, and again, for the past 40 years, I've done a presentation at that public hearing, which I'd be happy to do or not, depending on your pleasure.
So, Bill, let's say hypothetically, so you come to us with what the data says, and then we all sit and talk. We have a public hearing, and we decide, all right, that something needs to shift one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, at the end of the day, we need to make sure that everything is kind of
legal.
Yeah, that's a good word to use.
That's the word. Yeah.
So we send it back to you, and then you can make those types of tweaks to the extent of what is legal and send it back to us. Is that the process?
Sure, I can tell you at the time. If you want this election district moved into the Northwest, then if we do that, then we have to move this one down here. Those are the kinds of trades. Or, we always try to get the numbers as close to exactly even as possible. We know there'll be roughly, 50 54,000 people roughly in each district. You don't want 55,000 in one and 53,000 in another. That's just, that doesn't meet the test of the law. So it's that, it's that little tweaking around the boundaries, as you suggest, that we'll take a look at. And again, if you find the boundaries unsuitable, we'll try to make whatever changes we need to make them suitable.
Sounds good. I have to admit, I do not understand Councilmember Pio's question that's in the chat. I don't know if anyone else does.
To read it for those who are watching, it says, I have to leave for another meeting, but my question is, someone brought up increasing district counts to 7 or 8. How would that process look?
Do people think he's saying, how do we go from having 4 district council members to having 7 or 8 district council members?
That is what it seems like. Yep.
I believe, and you'd have to check with the law department about this, I think that would take a local law change that would have to be approved by the state also. Any of those changes that change the formal structure of the government, and this would clearly be a change because now you'd have more district than at large. That would be, I believe, viewed as a substantive change, and that would probably take a local law and approval by the state legislature, I think.
Would that be a referendum?
Would that
Subject to a referendum, probably, yes.
would that be based on population as well, or is it? Can you just do that?
Anytime you have districts, they have to be even. That's that's the general law, the 1 person, 1 vote rule. But that would be beyond my purview, and that would change my workload substantially.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's asking that to happen except for Councilmember Pio as a point of interest.
It just may be, maybe a question of general interest. I'll be meeting with him as one of the district council members, and I can talk to him about the ins and outs of that in our private meeting.
Have fun.
Always.
Anyone else with any questions?
Okay, well, again, I appreciate the opportunity to do this. Katie, I'll stop down tomorrow and get the agreement signed, if that's okay.
That's
Bill,
perfect. I'll be around.
I do have one more question.
Sure.
It's amazing you've been doing this for 5 decades and that this thing has your fingerprints on it. And I really hope you do it for a 6th in 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to hope so, but I hope so.
Yeah.
But I am wondering what we can do to be sure that if you don't want to,
on the chance that I'm not here to.
Or I didn't say it, you did.
Yeah,
that we are creating a kind of paper trail so that we know where to pick up. Do you have a plan in place for that this year?
I can do that. I'll be transferring all the information over. The process isn't that complicated. What it takes is somebody who knows the city. I mean, you really have to know the neighborhoods and the boundaries, and the process isn't complicated. You have to be somewhat competent with spreadsheets, and you have to understand how to read data. But I can work with Katie, for example, on that, or if anybody on your staff that you'd like me to spend some time with, I'd be happy to. That shouldn't be a problem.
I would strongly recommend Katie and Beth, if the 2 of you could just at least figure out what a kind of, it doesn't have to be a formal SOP, but just some way to document what the process is so that people aren't lost in 10 years. Although it looks like Bill's been drinking out of the fountain of youth, so hopefully he'll still be here with us.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but I hope to still be around in 10 years. But again, none of us can guarantee anything, as we've found out in the last, particularly in the last 18 months.
Well, when would the changes take effect?
For the 2023 election.
Okay.
So we're not rushed. There's no time crunch on this because, every other 10 years ago, there was a time crunch because we had to have it ready for the 2021 election.
Mm-hmm.
This year, there's no such time crunch. And it's good because the census came out so late this year, because of the pandemic and the follies of the Trump administration. everything is running months late.
All right. Well, anyone else?
Thank you all. Katie, is there a time is better or worse for you if I come down? Mid-afternoon, would mid-afternoon be okay?
Yeah, knock on wood, I don't have anything tomorrow, so I'll be around. Anytime's
Okay.
good.
Do you have is there a notary still in the office?
There is, yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so
I will double check to make sure she will be here all day tomorrow. I believe she will be.
If not, then I'm sure there's somebody in City Hall. Still.
Yeah, there is.
A notary. Finance. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your.
Thanks for your time, Bill. Have a good one.
I appreciate the opportunity to do this again.
Thank you.
Good luck to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Katie, anything procedural to sign off or just say goodbye to everyone?